Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride, and today we are talking about the hero from the Shadow and Flame adventure pack from the Dwarven cycle named Elrond. He is a 13 cost, 3 willpower, 2 attack power, 3 defense point, 4 hit point, Noldor, noble. He has the ability that you may spend resources from Elrond's resource pool to pay for any sphere of influence of allies, and then he has the response after a character is healed by another card effect, heal one further damage from it. So David, what are your thoughts on this overpowered hero?
Not foreshadowing what you think or anything, huh?
Not at all, mate. Not at all.
Well, I feel like this is a great transition card. We just got done talking about Sylvan February, and here we have Elrond, who is another Mogli Villeneuve card, and it's another elf, but it's Noldor, so it's not Sylvan, so that's okay.
Good job I changed from Legolas.
I will say that even before we get into the mechanics of the card and the stuff that goes on that way, I do love the card art. I don't think that there's any bad Mogli card art. I think that Mogli Villeneuve has amazing card art. And if you're interested, you can go to Hall of Beorn and just search by artist and get all her art up. That said, let's talk a little bit about the card. I think for 13 cost, let's add up. I keep looking over this way because I have a monitor over here with the card up. And so
he costs 12.
He costs 12, and he's one above his stats plus hit points. And that's probably because of not his healing, but that he can bring an ally out. He can pay for allies from any sphere. So my original use of Elrond was in an Outlands deck. I wanted to be able to pull out as many Outlands as I could. Now, I didn't construct that deck very well, so and it probably wasn't a great match, and I've learned a lot in terms of deck building about it since then, but because you don't need Elrond's healing in an Outlands deck. I feel like the whole purpose of Outlands is just to get as many people on the board, and if you need to roll through and you lose some, you can just Men of the West and those guys back in your hand. So you don't need the healing there, so you're not really taking full advantage of that in an Outlands deck. But that said, that where you can pay for allies from any sphere can be really great in decks where you need access to those other spheres. Now, of course, right this second, I'm having a brain fart and I'm not sure exactly what it is. But him and Gandalf, Hero Gandalf, are really and I guess Heroin, are really the only 3 that can consistently bring in any sphere allies from play. And I think that is great. And then couple that with his healing ability, which is kind of funny because I think let me just double check, but I think that the ally is a healer. It is. Okay. And this is not a healer. They exchange the noble with the healer trait. And so I think that healing that he does is also very powerful, and it's in sphere for the most powerful healing cards. Warden of Healing, Yorith, Ethelos, Lembas. But I feel like Ethelos and Lembas, you don't necessarily need the extra point of healing, but with Warden of Healing, Elrond makes him a beast. Those are kind of my initial impressions. What do you think? How do you use Elrond, or what do you think, Grant?
When I first got Elrond, obviously Shadow, the last adventure pack of the Dwarven cycle, and I put him straight into a deck, obviously coupled with Vilya and Asphaleth and Glorfindel, and it was like, okay, so your threat's quite high because obviously it costs 13. Unless you have a way to mitigate that, like Spirit Glorfindel, Merlond is another way to drop that down. But when he first came out, it was really only Spirit Glorfindel, or you needed some way of threat reduction.
Wait,
Uh,
what are you saying, Spirit
for
Glorfindel?
for how I used to build around his high threat cost.
Oh, his high threat cost. I was like,
Yeah.
Laura Glorfindel's the one that's healing. I don't know. I'm sorry. That was me being an idiot. Go ahead.
But since then, I've found that his 13 threat isn't actually that much of a problem. Um, he's able to bring in all the allies, so you don't need to worry about a resource match. That point of healing, you're always going to take damage in a quest. There's generally no quest where you can get through unscathed unless you're running a tower against, say, Passage Through Mirkwood.
Right.
Besides that, you're generally going to need healing in most, if not all, your quests. So that extra point could come in handy. It may not. But he's a solid defender. He's a solid quester. If you're not using Spirit Glorfindel, he's an ideal target for Light of Valinor. Couple that with an unexpected courage in Vilya. You've got questing, defending, and Vilya available, so you can pull in your allies or your cards from the top of your deck. He is so versatile, he'll fit into pretty much any deck. The only drawback is that 13 cost, but for his stats and his abilities, he is well worth it. I wouldn't recommend running Elrond, Aragorn, and Gandalf, because that's just insanely high threat. You're like one off Valar at that point. Aside from that, you wouldn't be running such a high threat cost deck with Elrond. I mean, he's in Sphere for Burning Brand, in Sphere for all the healing. So he's got like a total of 7 before he's dead in one hit.
Right.
You can
He's
take
one of the few enemies that can take a swing from a hill troll and live.
yeah,
Or sorry, one of the few heroes. Did I say enemy? One of the few
yeah,
heroes that can take a swing from a hill troll and live.
yeah. But I think this also captures the wisdom of Elrond. He's able to put his knowledge forward for the willpower, but he also has the strength of will to be an excellent defender as well. He is the holder of the ring Vilya, and obviously they made that card, coupled that with Elrond, and it was like a match made in heaven, so to speak.
Yeah, I was going to say this card is good solo, but I feel like it gets better and better the more people you're playing with,
Yes,
too.
definitely.
Like when you have 4 people out and everybody's deck is doing something kind of specific, and you're maybe running with a little bit of healing in each deck or something, to be able to do that extra heal is amazing. And then, if you're the guy that's doing the questing, let's say, because Elrond's stats are, he's a better quester than he is an attacker, so maybe he's the one that you want to, maybe you want him to be doing the questing. Well, that ability with Vilya to pull out card after card after card, like it's wild. So I think that,
Yeah.
that this is good and just keeps getting better the more people you play with.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the only problem, obviously, well, I wouldn't say a problem. The only drawback is that if you're running Vilya and Elrond, there are a lot of high-price unique cards that could be run in other decks. So I would recommend sitting down with your group of players, finding out who's running what,
Right.
so you don't have a competition of who can get it out the first. And generally speaking, if I'm running Elrond, I'll run a Spirit Hero, whether that be Eowyn or Dunhia, Fast Red.
Well, Arwen is kind of the typical spirit hero because you
Yeah.
can get rid of a card and then you can, and then you can get the resources to put onto Elrond in order to pay for whatever ally you have in your hand.
Yeah. So depending on which way I've went, I'll always run Elrond with a spirit, just so I've got access to unexpected courage,
Sure.
uh, Mirror,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't see an awful lot of play now, but it
Right.
was phenomenal back in the time. Getting back to Elrond, he's a good hero. He can fit in any deck. And yes, as they say, he generally works better in multiplayer, but he also works good solo. I don't usually play solo games, but I have played a solo Elrond deck with a few other cards. Obviously, a other hero or two other heroes, depending on how risque I'm feeling. I mean, I've just recently put together.
Arrrr.
I've just put together an Elrond and Spirit Glorfindel deck that starts off at 18 threat, and it's all about getting the high-powered willpower out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running a Arkenstone in that deck.
Right.
It's got a lot of unique characters, and it brings a lot of bear. It's not the best, but it works some of the time.
So,
You can see on the Facebook group that when me and my partner played, we ended up getting something like 60 progress on the Caves of Nindum.
right. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's ridiculous.
Once I got everything sorted, it was like, yes.
I mean, I hate to bring up old kind of horrible combos, but if you're using spirit and lore in the deck, which is kind of a great pairing for Elrond, you can always go back to the Gildor and Glorian ally and the Ziggle Miner, get as many,
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's the natural lore. I don't want to say it's a broken mechanic, but it's pretty powerful because you can get a ton of resources.
It can if you're running that sort of mining deck, and it works. I haven't used it personally, but obviously I've seen the mining decks work.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the reasons why I bring that specific combo up is Elrond is from Shadow and Flame, right?
Yes.
And Gildor is from the Hills of Emyn Muil, and the Ziggle Miner is from the Khazad-dûm box. So, I mean, that's if you're playing progression style, or if you've gotten cards only up to Khazad-dûm, which for some reason seems to be the really popular thing in the things. As we're recording this, everybody seems to be playing Khazad-dûm a lot. That's a really powerful combo to get a lot of resources out, and Elrond is powerful to whatever degree to be able to pull out all sorts of allies. So, I mean, you can really do some damage with that.
Getting back to Elrond, I think he's an all-round good hero.
Yeah.
You have a lot of fun while you're playing with him. Some people may say he's overpowered. And to some degree, yeah, he kind of is. But
you're paying the threat. You're paying 13 threat, and that automatically, I think, prevents most people from playing certain other heroes.
Yeah.
You're not going to play Ally Treebeard, or not Ally, you're not going to play Hero Treebeard and Gandalf with this guy. You're just not.
That would put 15 up to 28 plus 14.
Yeah, you're at 42 threat. Unless you're making a Valor deck. But that's the thing. So I think that, yeah, he's a powerful card, but the trade-off is you have to be careful who you're pairing him with, because you don't want to start your threat way up in the high 30s to begin with.
Yeah. Generally, you want to sit mid-20s, maybe early 30s, like 31, 32. Generally, that finds the cut-off period for my threat level.
Right.
If I'm building a deck, I'll go, like I say, I've got a deck that I've just built, which is started at 18 threat.
Right, but you're only using 2 heroes in that deck.
Yeah.
Do you use Strider?
No, I don't.
I mean, you should, but that's the thing, is that right.
Because the whole idea is to get out the allies
right
before that. But I go up to a maximum, say 32 threat is my cut-off point for what a deck level is.
I think most people follow my lead here. I was the guy that was like, I hate high starting threat. 10 is my cutoff. And I mean, that's basically what you're saying, that you're not going to run Hero Elrond because you hate him, is what you're saying. That's what I heard. He's not a hero necessarily that you're going to splash just to get the lore, but I think he fits into a lot of different decks, which makes him really good. What do you say? Should we ring this guy?
Let's ring him.
Let's ring him. So, on Card Talk, for those people just joining us for the first time, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we ring these cards on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, and 10 is the worst card in the card pool. So, Grant, what do you think? How would you ring Elrond?
Well, since I know you hate the point numbers, I'm going to rate him 1.5.
1.5? You're not going to drop the 1 on him, huh?
No, yeah, I like Elrond, but I can't just give him the 1 because it does take a lot to set up a decent Elrond deck. And people may disagree. I don't care. It's my own personal viewpoint. I'm giving him a 1.5.
1.5? That's horrible.
Hate me all you want. Come on. David, how about you? What are your thoughts?
I think that, for what I said, I think that he's a 3. 3 rings, because he's high threat, and yeah, he is utilitarian in a lot of decks, but I still don't, like, if he doesn't fit every type of deck. So I think he's really good for what he does. It's maybe a 2, but I'm still going to go with a 3. So it's on the 2 side of a 3. So because I can't do 2.5, so I will do a 3. So join us.
I'm just annoying David with these 0.5s.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I'm over it. You can tell by how grumpy I'm not right now.
Just look at that face.
Right. So anyways, join us next time as we discuss more cards from the card game. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.